1.2 million people. That's how many Koreans packed Yeouido Plaza on June 7, 1975, the largest gathering in South Korean history. But here's what the history books miss. 1,000 foreigners from 60 countries were hidden in that crowd. They were members of a religious movement who traveled across the world to reshape the Cold War. At the center was a man who survived one of Kim Il-sung's death camps, a man who understood something about communism that even the CIA missed. His name was Myung Moon. What he said that day predicted exactly how communism would evolve. To understand why this rally mattered, look at 1975. The free world was in retreat. April 17th, Cambodia falls to the Khmer Rouge. The killing fields begin. April 30th, Saigon falls. Those desperate helicopters on embassy rooftops. American longest war ends in defeat. May 1st, communist forces take Laos. The dominoes are falling fast. In Pyongyang, Kim Il-sung is watching. He sees America's weakness. He sees opportunity. North Korean forces are digging massive tunnels under the DMZ, wide enough to move entire armies, capable of moving 30,000 soldiers per hour. South Korea's intelligence gives them 6 months before invasion, maybe less. President Park is calling Washington daily, but America wants nothing to do with another Asian war. Congress is already talking about pulling troops. This is when Reverend Moon takes the stage. Not just national crisis, existential crisis. So who was Reverend Myung Moon? Why did over 1 million people come to hear him? 1946. While the world celebrated the end of World War II, a 26-year-old Korean minister crosses into North Korea, not to escape communism, to confront it. 2 years later, they arrest him. The charge, disrupting the social order. Translation, teaching about God, they send him to Hungnang labor camp. Prisoners work to death processing chemicals. Life expectancy, 6 months. Reverend Moon survives almost 3 years. His fellow prisoners remembered. He gave away half his food. He prayed for the guards who beat him. He turned that death camp into an underground church. When UN forces bombed the camp in 1950, guards were executing prisoners alphabetically. They reached the letter M. The bombs fell first. Reverend Moon walks out understanding something fundamental. Communism isn't just economics or politics. It's a replacement religion. While Western experts focus on Marxist theories, Reverend Moon saw the spiritual war. Communist demands worship. It promises paradise. It has prophets and sacred texts, and it cannot tolerate real faith. When Reverend Moon stands before 1.2 million people, he's not giving a political speech. He's declaring a spiritual war. His exact words are, communism is not only the enemy of human beings, it is the enemy of God. This wasn't a metaphor, this was a diagnosis. He quotes a communist leader from 1930. We will start a peace policy and capitalist countries will stupidly cooperate in digging a trap for themselves. Reverend Moon connects the dots. This strategy works in Russia. It worked in China. It just worked in Vietnam, and now it's coming for Korea. But here's where he gets prophetic. He warns that communism will evolve. It won't always use tanks and camps. It will spread through culture, through education, through the slow replacement of traditional values. They pretend to be friends and gain time, he says. And while you're relaxing, they will deliver a decisive iron fist. Sound familiar? He's describing exactly how authoritarian ideas infiltrate free societies today. But Reverend Moon isn't just warning us, he's building a counter strategy. Those 1,000 foreigners in the crowd represent something new, a global religious network that crosses political boundaries. Think about it. The communist bloc was unified by ideology. The free world was divided by freedom. NATO was military. The UN was political. But what about spiritual alliance? Reverend Moon is creating a third force in the Cold War. Not capitalists, not communists, but believers in God. Japanese members funding Korean development. American members defending Korean freedom. European members spreading awareness. All bound by shared faith, not treaties. The communists immediately see the threat. Within months, Soviet propaganda targets Reverend Moon. They understand what many in the West don't. Ideas are more dangerous than armies. Here's what happened next. Korea doesn't fall. Despite every prediction, despite the tunnels, despite America's doubts, South Korea survives. More than survives. Within 1 generation, it becomes an economic powerhouse. The miracle on the Han River, from war-torn aid recipient to donor nation, was it just economics? Just American support? Or was it something more? South Korea becomes one of the most Christian nations in Asia. Churches multiply, faith movements explode, and it creates something communism can't compete with: meaning. Purpose beyond material wealth. Community beyond state control. Hope beyond political compromise. North Korea still had the larger army, but South Korea has something more powerful: a population that believed in something the state couldn't give or take away. So Reverend Moon's 1975 warnings are relevant today. He described how communism would adapt, no longer through revolution, but through cultural takeover. The replacement of traditional values, the changing of basic concepts, the slow transformation of education. He warns that future communists wouldn't call themselves communists. They would use different names: progressive causes, social justice movements, but a pattern stays the same: create crisis, demand total loyalty, silence opposition, replace traditional faith with revolutionary doctrine. Look at today. Struggle sessions renamed diversity training. Revolutionary tribunals renamed cancel culture. Class enemies renamed oppressors. Same playbook, new vocabulary. Reverend Moon saw it coming because he understood. Communism's core isn't economic theory. It's a spiritual replacement. It will use whatever works to achieve that goal. That day in 1975, 1.2 million people stood in Yeouido Plaza. They thought they were fighting to save South Korea. They were fighting for something bigger. They were defending the idea that human beings are more than material beings, that truth exists beyond government decree, that purpose goes deeper than politics, that God, not government, is the ultimate authority. Moon survived that death camp to deliver one message: when you remove God from society, something else will take his place. And that something will demand everything God demands: your devotion, your obedience, your soul, but deliver only slavery. The rally worked. Korea didn't fall. But the war Reverend Moon described never ended. It just changed battlefields. From classrooms to boardrooms, from entertainment to schools, from politics to churches, the same spiritual battle. One that honors God and one that replaces him. Those 1.2 million people understood something we're rediscovering. Some battles can't be won with votes or weapons. They can only be won with faith. If a man who survived hell could see the truth in 1975, what's our excuse for missing it now?